Welcome back to Arcane Answers, where today we'll be talking about the occult, occult figures, the Satanic Panic, and more. I'm your host, Lair, and with me, as always, are Amanda and Sarah. How are you ladies doing today?
We are doing super.
Doing well.
That's awesome. So I'm going to just dive right into our topic today, and we're going to explore some of the key figures that have shaped the perception of the occult, and particularly their relation to the Satanic Panic that gripped America. And we'll be laying some groundwork here. I think you guys are going to be taking over in the next segment and diving into the Wenatchee sex cult and the Satanic Panic.
Yes.
I just want to let you know I'm going to keep mine short and sweet, but I could probably do a 16-part series on this.
We may have to come back and revisit this because
goodness,
I've got quite a bit going on here with just the figures that have shaped our perception, and I left quite a few out.
Yeah,
and I might drop some here. Like, I mean, it all starts with like John Dee, but I'm not even going to get into that, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe I will at a different point. But today we're going to start with Helena Blavatsky. She was born in Russia and co-founded the Theosophical Society in 1875. Theosophy is a really complex system of beliefs that pulls from different religions, philosophical traditions like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Western esocentrism. Are you guys familiar at all with the Theosophical Society?
Nope.
Very little.
Yeah, it's real weird. I don't think now I get it confused with the Ascended Masters. Now her book talks about like the Ascended Masters coming and giving them their information, and she was able to kind of get a lot of her belief system from them. But she also says, she traveled to Tibet and met with spiritual masters, and they gave her a lot of information. She started writing books like Isis Unveiled and The Secret Doctrine. You guys want a little bit more background on those books there?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, Isis Unveiled was published in 1877, and it takes a critical look at materialism of both science and religion. And Blavatsky basically argues that ancient wisdom needs to come back and presents theosophy as the understanding the universe's mysteries. And then The Secret Doctrine's like her big book, like her multi-volume series that ties science, religion, philosophy, and theosophy together and kind of details the origin of the universe, human evolution, and hidden spiritual forces. So, but she's not technically satanic. She just really started this like occult thing that people latched on to.
That's really interesting. And it's always strange to me when you're talking about a time of 1877 and them looking for ancient wisdom when you look at it from a contemporary eye, because, whatever time you're in is modern. And so them looking back at ancient wisdom, and then you have people today looking back, oh, things were simpler in the 1800s. We should bring back, some of those things.
Yeah, it does have make spirituality great again vibes to it.
Yeah, it's super funny to just see how no matter what time you exist in, humankind is always kind of nostalgic for previous eras.
Did you ever hear Jello Biafra? It might have been the Dead Kennedys, but I think it was him on his own. He had a song called "Nostalgia for an Age That Never Existed."
No, but it sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Oh, it is so good. Like the lyrics are basically like, you pine for this time that you remember being great, but it never existed, And it's sung in 50s doo-wop style. It's really good.
I love that a lot. I'm going to check that out as soon as we're done.
But let's go to the beast, okay?
Yes.
The great beast. No, just the beast. Aleister Crowley. Now, a lot of people say Crowley. It isn't. He says it's Crowley, rhymes with holy. So we're going to run with that. This guy, he's a fun one. Born Edward Alexander Crowley in 1875. He's a major figure in modern occultism. And his life was all about rejecting the fundamental Christian upbringing that he had. And it fueled his lifelong search for alternative spiritualities. Like, he wanted to create his own belief system and it kind of buck conventional morality of the time. In 1898, he joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Are you guys familiar with that at all? Like, secret societies and things like that. I don't know what your level on the occult. Like, this is my jam. I really like this stuff. And so,
Yeah, I'm much less so. I know how much you love secret societies, so I want to hear it from you because it really isn't something that I've ever explored too much.
Yeah.
Okay, well, like, I didn't want to get too inside baseball and be like, yeah, like, not that I'm in secret societies, but like I researched them, so I'm like, yeah, the OTO or like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, you know what I'm talking about, So we'll get into that a little bit. It was like, it was a secret society. It gave him his formal training in ceremonial magic and introduced him into like West esocentrism. Yeah, he learned from people like Samuel Liddell, McGregor Mathers, and Alan Bennett. They really guided his early development in magic, but by the time he was ready to kind of go, he had made a lot of enemies in there, and so it was like contentious. And then he also had a rivalry with the Irish poet William Butler Yeats, and so he got kind of kicked out because he was really into going with the Eastern cultures and experimenting with drugs. And like, it doesn't say much in here, and I wasn't sure at the time, but he was also bisexual, and he brought that into his belief system. And I think that may have kind of targeted him a little bit in some of those, but he gets kicked out, and so he goes in 1904 on a honeymoon in Cairo, and he believes that he was channeled the Book of the Law, which became the basis of his religion, Thelema. Yeah, Thelema, I think it is. And he said it was dictated him to by a disincarnate entity named Awas. Now, that's weird. Later on, he also gets to have a little alien friend named Lamb, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyway, in 1907, he founded his own esocentric order, the AA, Argentinum Astrum, or the Silver Star. From Thelema to his magical system, he also published influential periodical called The Equinox in 1909, and where he put out his theories and practices. And then he was initiated in the Ordo Templi Orientis, the OTO, which still practiced today. And you might even have a branch of the OTO in Oklahoma or around you.
Wait, it's OTO. Okay, hold on. I need to look this up because that sounds amazing.
The Ordo Templi Orientis. I would not eat their light cakes.
Don't eat the light cakes? Okay.
Yeah, don't eat the light cakes. They got semen and menstrual blood in them.
Ew, what?
Yeah, it's a weird order.
Wow.
Yeah. German occult organization. It's a German occult organization. He became the leader of the British chapter and reshaped it with his Thelemic beliefs, and I think that's where we get a lot of the weird stuff. He integrated the OTO's structure and rituals, and then, kind of threw his own little zhuzh on there, right? And so his life was full of controversy. Like, he experimented with drugs. Again, like I said, he opened up bisexuality, which, like, we're in 1907 at this point, and he's all like,
"Oh no."
Yeah, he's like, it's cool, man. Just be with whoever you want. And so, like, he even got kicked out of Mussolini's Italy for being too evil.
Oh.
So, yeah. And in England, they called him the wickedest man. So he had a really interesting life. But, he wrote a couple books. Like, he loves magic with a K. He takes magic, he threw a K on it. And he's like, this is special magic. It has a K. But,
yeah,
theory.
The K makes it magic.
The K makes it extra magic. What's that?
It's K for ketamine?
It might be.
Also, we do have a chapter. It's in Oklahoma City. Second Best Raw.
See, I didn't doubt it. Like, they're everywhere, but like nobody knows about them.
Weird. Texas has a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Tracks.
Because they're freaks.
Don't mess with Texas.
Yeah.
Many
We're
evil.
getting freaky with the occult down here. Y'all.
Y'all.
You ever hear about that light bringer, y'all?
Have some light cakes and some chili.
We don't put beans in our chili.
just meat sauce.
Ew, no.
Ooh, okay. Let's go back to Thelema for a second. Have you guys ever heard doest thou wilt will be the whole of the law? You know what I'm talking about? Nope. That's
Isn't it basically like doesn't it end with love though? Like,
yeah, love above something. That's the second thing on there.
If it harm no one, do what you will. It's similar to the like witches.
Oh, got it. Yep.
Yes, I have heard of that.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting, and like, I like it. I like the idea as like, do as thou will. That's the whole law, except, make sure that it's with love. Like, love under what is it? Love under law. Yeah, love is the law. Love under will. So you do as you will, but make sure you're doing it with love, I guess.
That just sounds like don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think that's their first tenet of like, a lot of modern Satanism too. And which of course Crowley will eventually go into. Like, a lot of these ideas and stuff, they get thrown into chaos magic, Wicca, and a lot of other things. Like, he says he wasn't a Satanist, but he has like poems like Hymn to Lucifer. And the OTO, they're like, we're not Satanists either. They just think he's really cool. Like, and but like Anton LaVey was like inspired by Crowley. But one I'd like to really get into, and this is a side note because he doesn't influence Satanism or occultism no, that's not true. It's Jack Parsons. You guys, I love Jack Parsons.
We need you to tell us more about Jack Parsons.
I will tell you more about Jack Parsons because he is fantastic. In 1914 is when he was born. He became a rocket engineer and a chemist who co-founded the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which played a role in establishing the U.S. space program and has been closely tied to NASA since its formation. And then, of course, Aerojet, which in its own right is crazy. Like, the amount of like space exploration that came about because of this one little weird Satanist. Yeah. His life was a great example of how science and the occult intersect. Like, he converted to Thelema in like 1939. In his teachings in 1942, he joined Crowley's OTO and became a leader of the California branch. So, like, he's a rocket scientist. I want to stress this again. And then he gets into sex magic, right? And and he famously collaborated with L. Ron Hubbard on a thing they called the Babylon Workings. And so these were aimed to invoke this goddess Babylon. And there was a direct link between Thelema and Scientology. There's not a direct link, but Parsons' involvement with the OTO and the unconventional lifestyle did eventually lead to his dismissal from JPL and and Aerojet. But like, you should check out the book Strange Angel: The Otherworldly Life of Rocket Scientist John Whiteside Parsons by George Pendell. And a little extra, look up or Google Marjorie Cameron and Kenneth Anger. You're going to be happy you did, because those are rabbit holes worth going down.
I think the 40s was a really wild time.
Yeah, it's like, this is like bananas. Like, in the 1940s, they're like, we're going to have sex magic parties. And
your grandparents were up to some shit.
Yeah. Well, get this. Okay. L. Ron Hubbard stole his life savings and his girlfriend, Sarah Northup.
That sucks.
And then Parson dies at 37 in 1952 in an explosion when he was trying to make fireworks for some friends. But a lot of people are like, the government killed him. Like, there's total like conspiracy theories around him. I'll touch a little bit on L. Ron Hubbard if you guys want.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody knows him from Scientology, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But before Scientology, he was just a pulp fiction writer, and he got involved with Jack Parsons, in the Agape Lodge of the OTO, and then they started doing this sex magic called Babylon Working, where they're trying to open up a portal and bring in this Scarlet Woman, and so they do this thing. They get to be buddy, and then he's like, what I need you to do is go buy some yachts and sell them around. And so he takes these yachts, doesn't come back, and he creates the Sea Org.
Of course he does.
L. Ron Hubbard does.
Yeah.
And like leaves like Parsons just penniless and girlfriendless, which to L. Ron Hubbard's credit, he did marry her. So, I don't know. That seems a little nicer, right? She and he hit it off. He was a jerk from what I understand. Like, I don't want to get too into it because they're pretty litigious, and if they ever hear our little show, like that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say the last thing, the connection between Hubbard and Crowley, now they never met, but L. Ron Hubbard called him a very good friend. And yeah, so there's some debate on whether there was a collusion or connection there between Crowley and him, but Jack Parsons definitely knew Aleister Crowley. I will tell you about Anton LaVey. Okay, so now we're getting a little more modern. We got LaVey, who founded the Church of Satan and the philosophy of LaVeyan Satanism. He established the Church of Satan in San Francisco on Valspurgisnacht, April 30th, 1966, in which he declared as year one as the age of Satan. In 1969, he wrote the Satanic Bible, which was the foundational text for LaVeyan Satanism. And the key to understanding LaVeyan Satanism is that it's an aesthetic. Like, they don't believe in Satan. Like, he's not a literal deity, but like a symbol for human natural instincts, pride, carnality, like defiance against the traditional Abrahamic religions. And he drew inspiration from like Friedrich Nietzsche and Rand, which that makes sense. If I were going for a Satanist or a satanic person, I'm throwing Ayn Rand in there.
Oh no, so many people are going to be sad about that.
It's true. I mean, if there's a do as thou wills person, like she's like, makers and takers, right? But and then H.L. Mencken, he's a author or like a journalist. I don't know much about him, but apparently he was pithy. Yeah, so he incorporated elements of magic and ritual and to further psychological effects and emotional effects. But he wasn't a direct follower of Crowley, but thought he was really cool. And for some reason, he says this, he's like, I'm not influenced. But then he totally plagiarized a huge chunk out of Crowley's Equinox, which he put into the Satanic Bible, showing there's definitely a direct connection between the two.
Right.
I'm going to skip over Manly P. Hall, but he is definitely worth a look. Now, he's not satanic in any way, but like definitely gives a big chunk of the occult is due to him, and he had a massive occult library worth looking into. The guy was crazy interesting. So Manly P. Hall. But that brings us to the era of the Satanic Panic, and I am going to turn this actually over to you guys now.
Hello. So we are not going to be going over the Wenatchee sex ring in depth. It was just much, much too heavy.
We hated it. There
was too much child injurement and death and destruction. And anyways, so What I am going to talk about is the kind of the catalyst to the Satanic Panic. So in the mid-1970s, pastors began to fear that people were straying too far away from their righteous teachings of the Bible. In 1972, Mike Warnke stepped onto the scene with his best-selling book, Satan's Cellar. This book recanted tales of growing up as a Satanist, which involved drug dealing, cult activity, and ritual sacrifices.
Oh, no.
Oh no, this guy sounds like a... Now, is that cellar or cellar? Like in the basement, or like he sells Satan?
No, like you sell Satan. Yeah. This book was complete bullshit. None of it ever happened.
As it usually is.
Yeah. But the Christians ran with it. So a lot of the Christian tropes that surround Satanism, the stereotypes and such, they were pulled straight from this book.
Oh.
Yeah. He claims at the height of his position within the Satanist religion that he had 1,500 followers who helped him become very wealthy. At some point after he gained those 1,500 followers, he joined the Illuminati.
Oh, as one does.
That seems like a natural progression.
Mm-hmm.
But then he turned to God and became a Christian. He was looked so highly upon by the churches that they actually ordained him into multiple churches.
Wait, like for real, or in his imagination?
No. So the book is all bullshit, but the churches and law enforcement and everybody took it as truth, ran with it, and he was considered like a foremost guy on satanic cults, and he even advised law enforcement on the inner workings of satanic cults. The more famous he became, the more the media fed into it. He was interviewed on ABC 2020 for his book and his knowledge in satanic rituals and cults and all that great stuff. So that book lit a fire under Christians, and they began to believe that Satan was infiltrating schools, the music children listened to, and making kids take psychedelics.
Not the psychedelics.
No.
And this fueled the Satanic Panic, which spanned from 1980s, 1990s was the height of it.
Yeah.
Notable cases, we have the Wenatchee sex ring, we have the West Memphis 3, the McMartin preschool, and Michelle Remembers.
Oh, yeah.
So everyone is familiar with the D&D Satanic Panic and the, metal music Satanic Panic, but I would like to take us to the year of 1980, where a Canadian woman named Michelle Smith went to get some psychotherapy because she'd had a miscarriage. So she goes to a man named Lawrence Padzner, and he does what is like recovered memories, right? So Michelle starts telling the story of being sold by her mother into a satanic cult at the age of 5. And she goes into being buried alive and then dug back up as a rebirth into this satanic cult. Over the course of the next 14 months in the book, she outlines being tortured, having other children held, ritualistic murders, and this book is published, it becomes a bestseller, and people just start to panic, believing that there is just this far-reaching satanic cult going on. So that's kind of what kicks off this satanic idea in the public imagination, starting in 1980. Fast forward to 1983, when a bereaved mother named Patricia Pulling starts the organization Bothered by Dungeons and Dragons, or BAD for short, after her deeply troubled teenage son Irving dies of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So Irving had been a member of a D&D campaign ran by his high school's principal, and after his death, Patricia sues the principal under the premise that the curse that he had laid upon her son's in-game character was actually real, thus causing her son to kill himself. When that suit failed, she then goes after the publishers of Dungeons & Dragons, and that lawsuit is roundly just dismissed. Yeah. So she has no vindication, forms bad, And Bad advocated against what they considered to be gateway activities into Satanism and the occult, mainly like heavy metal, horror movies, and fantasy role-playing game.
Like the devil in toy box kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So their brochures were distributed throughout the conservative circles, not only in the US, but also at its height, Canada, UK, and Australia also got in on the action. Pulling became a consultant for police forces across the country on how to identify and interrogate teenage occultists. Yeah. In 1984, she became the director of the National Coalition on TV Violence, which was kind of like in the same vein at the time with Tipper Gore's parental advisory warnings and other media. So, like, basically, mid 80s was just crackdown on any sort of teenage fun.
Was that the "it's 10 o'clock, do you know where your kids are"?
No, it's the labels that used to be on physical CDs and records, where it's like if it had cussing or if it had.
Oh, I know exactly what you're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about now.
explicit.
Aren't they still there?
Probably.
Well, nobody buys physical.
Well, I guess that's true.
Yeah, so I mean, probably, I don't know. But anyway, so 1989, Pulling publishes this book called The Devil's Web: Who is Stalking Your Children for Satan?
Oh, that sounds like a fun read.
Seriously. So this book alleges that satanic cults are recruiting children through such means as, you know, the heavy metal, horror movies, and fantasy role-playing games, and that gamers, goths, and metalheads were more likely to go crazy, engage in sexual perversity, commit suicide, or these morally heinous crimes like rape, torture, arson, and murder. So at this point, like, a video game designer named Michael Stackpole has lost his patience. And he writes this rebuttal book called Game Hysteria and the Truth, which just absolutely rips apart everything that Bad is doing, from their data collection methods, the fact that they're citing themselves as sources or newspaper articles in which they were the interviewees, the unsubstantiated assertion that over 8% of Virginians were involved in Satanism.
Wow.
Just bonkers. Like, by their numbers, over 500 suicides per year would be attributed to video games. And the truth was that, or not video games, but just gaming in general. And the truth was that gamers were committing suicides at a fraction of the rate of their peers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, by 1991, multiple governmental agencies came out and said, like, on the record, that there was no causal link between gaming and suicide whatsoever.
Virginia's for lovers, not for Satan.
Correct. Yes.
No. That's Ohio. Ohio is for lovers.
No. Virginia's for lovers.
It's an emo band reference.
Oh, I don't know it.
Everybody.
Everyone. Yes, we don't. What is
My
it?
bad. Sorry, guys.
We're all fighting. No, it's Virginia. Okay.
It's a song by Hawthorne Heights.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
So, yeah. So the Bad movement, it starts petering out around 90 after the book. And then by 91, that's kind of the death knell of their idea that D&D is going to kill your kid.
His book really changed the tide then. Like, people read it and were like, oh, no, this is the truth?
Well, it wasn't necessarily people, but more the media's like, yeah, all of this stuff is pretty unsubstantiated. Like, we were promoting this concept without actually doing any fact checking, and maybe that was bad. Maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Oh, I see.
Surprise, surprise. So yeah, and then she ends up passing away in 1997, and that's the whole Bad movement has kind of faded from memory since then. But
can you tell me again what was the Bad acronym?
Bothered by Dungeons and Dragons. Or no, bothered about Dungeons and Dragons.
Bothered about Dungeons and Dragons.
Bothered about
That's so stupid.
Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, a serious advocacy movement that went across the globe.
So they took a real thing like MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and they're like, oh, that's a great acronym. How can we backronym this and make Bad?
Yeah. Well, and it was really sad too, because if you think about it, like, within a lot of the mindset of Christianity, suicide is such a mortal sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was kind of reading up about Patricia, it kind of occurred to me that, like, this woman was crazily grasping at straws for how this wasn't her son's fault, how that action wasn't his
Now, is
fault.
this the same one that made was the background for Mazes and Monsters?
No, so the Mazes and Monsters guy, that was, last name was, I think, Edgar or
Oh, that
Egbert?
sounds right.
Egbert.
Egbert, yeah.
And yeah, he was a kid at the in Michigan, and I don't remember which university, so I'm sorry. But he had a serious drug problem. He had severe mental illness and decided to hide out in the utility tunnels under the school.
Mm-hmm.
And so when his parents hired a man named William Deere to investigate, for some reason, William decided that it was absolutely this kid's playing D&D that had driven him into madness. Yeah, so that was Monsters and Mazes. But he ended up also killing himself. But that kind of fed into this popular narrative that D&D was killing the kids.
Wow, that is nuts.
Yeah.
I played D&D, and I mean, there's times when I got really bored, but I don't think that I ever thought of anything self-harm wise.
Yeah, I mean, I've played D&D with you. And
That's true. Actually, that was Call of Cthulhu, wasn't it?
oh, yeah, we did play Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
That was good. Actually.
Yeah, that's a fun game.
Not one time was I like, man, I want to die now.
Yeah.
Larry cursed me. It's over.
Yeah, there was subliminal messages put into it.
And then I have one more that's kind of more contemporary and a little bit fun, but it also shows the gentle evolution of Satanism to anyone who's your political enemy. So 2016, we have the information from Hillary Clinton's emails linked into WikiLeaks.
Oh, yeah.
And the internet goes wild. So a post on Fortune makes the claim that the NYPD has uncovered this vast human trafficking and child sex abuse ring from this information. The conspiracy involves a whole bunch of prominent Democratic politicians, donors, probably some actors. They usually throw
John
them in there.
Podesta.
Yeah. And it asserts that the children are being held in the basement of this Washington, D.C. pizzeria called Comet Ping Pong.
Mm-hmm.
So people are so sure that this is happening. Like, they have just riled themselves up to the extent that a guy named Edgar Madison Welch decides to go in there and investigate, and he's going to liberate these children himself. When the owner of the place is like, absolutely not. What are you doing?
Yeah, and they don't even have a basement.
Right. Welch fires 3 shots into the pizzeria and gets himself arrested. So, yeah. So there was also, I don't know if you ever saw the Wayfair conspiracy theory.
Oh my goodness, yes.
That one was wild, where you could order kids off of Wayfair based on the names and the prices.
Yeah, who's paying $20,000 for a curio cabinet?
Right. Yeah. So the internet has given us some really good satanic panics itself recently. It's not just something that happened in the 80s. Like, it is something that is continually evolving in the public imagination.
Absolutely. I mean, it's still alive today. And I heard some people recycling the Comet Ping Pong stuff, kind of going back to it. Unfortunately, after that guy was shot by the police recently.
Oh, yeah. In January 6th, actually, of this year at a traffic stop.
Yeah. So that's a sad ending for that guy who in his mind was a hero.
Yeah. I have to give him props, because if he honestly believed that was happening and was willing to like go try to do something about it.
Oh yeah.
Even if it was misguided, like, I mean, that's kind of badass.
I can't condone it,
No.
but like he's putting his money where his mouth is. He's actually going in and doing something. He's like, man, somebody should do something. I should do something about that.
Yeah. So like, mad respect for the fact that he was willing to go in there and do it, because he honestly believed this was happening. But at what point?
Yeah. Well, don't shoot a gun in a child's pizza shop,
Well, and maybe a little bit of critical thinking on whether or not a rumor is substantiated.
Or maybe a little bit of investigation without a gun.
Correct.
Yeah. Unarmed investigation is also a perfectly legitimate way to go about things.
Do some recon before you go in guns blazing.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. But again, the guy seems mentally unstable. So,
Yeah.
there were some investigations that went in there. One of the reporters from Alex Jones's InfoWars, an Info Warrior, went in there. I can't remember his name, but he might have been a J6 or two. But he went in. He starts to look around, talks about how creepy it is, almost starts crying. I think they go up to order, and he's trying to be like, "I'd like a cheese pizza." And they're like, "Oh, okay." So,
with extra cheese.
He ends up getting sweated out and runs away.
Oh my goodness.
But not because they're doing anything, but because he's just a freaking weirdo.
Too suspicious.
Did he pay for his pizza?
Oh, probably. I don't have that information.
If he paid for it, I hope he at least grabbed his pizza to go.
Ask some hard-hitting questions. But did he pay for the pizza?
Yeah.
There's one more thing I really need Sarah to tell us about, because this story brings me so much joy every time I think about it.
Okay, please do.
It is. I think about it more often than I want, and then I giggle.
So, in the same vein as Pizzagate and QAnon was a big one there for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So, I have a friend who...
I don't know them. I'm just laughing because like anything that starts with I have a friend and QAnon is going to be a good story.
So I have a friend who very much could have fallen into QAnon if he didn't have a wonderful wife to keep him from spiraling. So he was telling me one day about how on Epstein's Island they were taking kids over there and strapping them down and just scaring the shit out of them until they secreted
adrenochrome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then they were using the adrenochrome in celebrities to keep them young and relevant and this and that. And I just sat there and I listened, and he probably went on for 25, 30 minutes about this. And when he got all done, I looked at him and I said, "Do you realize that you just told me the plot for Monsters, Inc.?" Which he did not find funny.
Well, see, the thing is, you get a seed of truth of something awful like Epstein's Island, right?
Right.
You don't need to embellish more on that. It is horrible.
It's terrible.
But then they're like, yeah, but they're also drinking adrenochrome. You're like, well, that's not a thing. Like, it is a thing. Like, it exists.
Right.
You know, and there's been research into it, and it doesn't do anything.
Yes.
Right. Hunter S. Thompson, who was like, that stuff's shit.
Yes.
No, well, he popularized it, I believe, in Fear and Loathing, saying that, you know, they did some adrenochrome. It's from a terrorized kid.
Oh, okay.
You know,
who was the one that claimed to do it? And he's like, it's not worth it. It's crap.
I don't remember if I ever knew, but yeah, no, he probably said that. You know, he made it up. You know, and one of my favorite Groovy Ghoulies albums called Appetite for Adrenochrome. So like, it's in the popular, you know, consciousness outside of the whole QAnon thing, but they took it to a whole new level. It keeps the lizard people from looking like lizards.
Apparently, but it was just very funny. He was just so hell-bent on me knowing the truth about this, and then when I pointed out to him that he gave me the plot for a kids movie, I think he realized how stupid he sounded.
Well, it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think these people should be mocked until they realize the truth.
Yeah.
Come on, people, have a little bit of skepticism.
Well, and a little bit of common sense goes a long way.
Yeah. But, you know.
No, it was Terry Gilliam, the director of the film adaptation of Fear and Loathing. Apparently, he just admitted that adrenochrome was a science fiction exaggeration. And then, yeah, he said Hunter S. Thompson told him that he made it all up.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. And if anybody would know, I mean, come on, Terry Gilliam, like that guy knows. Yeah. He knows his psychedelics.
If he knows anything, it's psychedelics.
Have you seen Brazil?
Mm-mm.
No?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, we're diverging from the occult into maybe there's occult symbolism in the movie, but you really should watch this movie. It is bonkers. It's something I watched as a teenager, and I was like, this movie's really weird, and it has so many like scenes that remind me of other places, but like there's fantasy life happening in it. Are you guys familiar with Terry Gilliam's stuff at all?
Not really, but I'm almost thinking this might be a subject for may I recommend?
You know what? I think it is. We were going to do Ravenous if we ever revive that show. Yeah, you guys should listen to Maybe Recommend. It's a show where we talk about movies, music, and more. But, but anyway, thank you guys for coming on and doing this again with me. I appreciate it. I love doing this podcast with you guys. And but I think that we're at our natural end.
Yes, sir. That was fun. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. And next week we'll be talking about psychics.
Woo!